How's it going, everybody? My name's Ryan. This is the Watcher's Alchemy. I wanted to make an update video. I wasn't going to make a video until I finally managed to attain some success. And so that's what this update's all about. So the past couple weeks have been pretty rough for me. I didn't know if I was going to make it. It was really rough. Physically, the heat and suffering heat stress and a little bit of heat exhaustion over the course of a couple weeks, um, accompanied with the stress of trying to make more money. Now, I started this channel like what, 2 years ago, maybe even 3 years ago. I can't quite remember right about now. It's been a days, but it's been a while now. We are up to 100 subscribers. Thank you guys. And we're going to keep going. When I started this channel, I was going on my own inner introspective journey of reaching higher dimensional perception along the road to ascension, along with integrating more of the mind's cognitive functions to bring more analytical light to subconscious information along the way. But that takes a lot of detachment from the mundane world. It takes a lot of introspection. It takes a lot of just denying the self of the different things that make up the persona, ego, and identity that we all pretend to walk around with, okay, that we all assume in our lives. And so sometimes when we reach that juncture where we need to pivot into an ultimate change in course and destiny, that's when the universe steps in and it shows us what we need to do, and it takes things away from us. And so that's what I experienced over the course of some years, more than 5 years now. I've experienced a traumatic deficit in my ability to hold on to the things that make up my life, and having to let them go, relationships and jobs and such and whatnot. And then also having to deal with past traumas and traumas, PTSD, and I want to say neurological disorders. What do I want to say? I want to say uh this is an intuitive video, by the way, unscripted. I want that my nervous system. There we go. My nervous system has been shot from breaking tons of bones, lots of injuries and accidents and whatnot, and just a lot of my experience in life has led to an apex amount of stress, and you can definitely see it in my eyes, and especially lately, I've been lacking a lot of sleep. Waking up at 2 a.m. in the morning, but I just cannot sleep. And I work all day trying to make that money, and it's exhausting. It's heat. The heat exhaustion is getting to me and affecting my mind. Anyways, so life takes things away. It makes us become more introspective, and we start integrating many things about our own cognitive functions and our own realities, if that resonates with you, our own realities shift and change, our lives change. Sometimes it seems like it's for the worse, but when we really reach down deep and we start to use our higher dimensional perception, we can see that even the dualistic parts of reality that are presented to us are in our most best benefit. And so that's why I put out these videos, is to help clarify for you in your own personal experience, that if this is what your experience, that you are on the right course. That if life is very stressful and the mundane seems like just limitless limitations, like you cannot get ahead, there's a reason why you're supposed to observe that. And so observing every detail and reflecting it, mirroring it back to the reflections of self in our experiences, that is how we clarify our destiny and what we will become. So the updates are that I finally got a job. I am going to be working at Walmart, which is something I set out to do, is to work in my community. That's what, so for, the background story is when I left construction, my career in construction, when everything, got taken away, I decided I was no longer going to make myself available for that same work that contributed to all the discomforts I've felt in my nervous system, all the activities I spent day in, day out, just making it worse. So about 10, 15 years ago, I started becoming very envious that it might be possible that I was in the wrong career, and that working in my community, working with people, speaking with people, and just working in the grocery store might actually be something that is calling out to me from the inside. Of course, it was a lot of fear in managing that, because I was working in a career where I could make twice as much. But in a failing economy, ultimately, fate had it written in destiny, or written in stone. It seemed like that was never going to happen for me. And so I decided to just lean now officially towards the inner light, and what it was telling me to do, and just forget about monetary value for now, that I would be okay following my intuition, and that I could start a new career, no problem. Now, I've done this before. I've started new careers before in the past, and I've accomplished a lot, only to change careers to accomplish more and more. But this time around, over the past 5 years, it's definitely different. If I'm going to do anything, it's definitely not going to be based out of fear that I will not have some sort of monetary value, as if that monetary value dictates who I am, of importance to who cares. It's my journey, it's my experience. It should only matter to the observer, the person. In your case, it would be you. Your value comes from within inside. So making this change required getting over these fears. And when we deal with the integration of the minds in a dualistic reality, these are the things that we focus on for our shadow work. We focus on anything that will create a hesitation, a fear, an anger, a negative response emotionally in us, to help clarify. That is the mind-heart coherence. This opens up dynamic doorways to create and to perceive destiny, to co-create in reality, to no longer be a victim of circumstance in your life. But it takes time and patience. It takes stillness, and it takes silence. It takes prayer, faith, and it takes observation of fine, minute details that you might not analytically observe them as important, but in an archetypal world, like I've explained in past videos, go check those out. Understanding all these things help integrate the realities we experience, and helps us to shape them in the way that is best for us and our best benefit. And so I finally, after all this time, it took 2 years of holding out and not settling for some other job, some other career that might have veered me off my path. And this wasn't, and it wasn't just holding out either. Because when I first started, I got my first dose of fate and the universe working in its mysterious ways when I applied for 40 different jobs and not one of them called me back. I ended up getting a job in retail, which proved to me that I could do retail, but it wasn't the forever job. And I ended up going on my spiritual journey and quitting that job, only having the money that I receive every now and then from the YouTube channel. If you'd like to donate, you can check out that information in the description, to get by, as I lived homeless in my truck here. I'm not homeless anymore. Now I live in my home. But coming up in the future, I might have an actual chance to take over the finances of my home. And it might be left solely to me. And this might all work out in divine timing now that I have the job. And then so another important thing was, how do we know that this is all like fate driven? How do we know that this isn't all just circumstance? Well, I actually had an opportunity. I've had a job, I've had a source of income, but it was on it was on a phone app, and it was with the Walmart company, and so it was delivering groceries. Now, this is a very lucrative way to make money if you know how to do it, and I know how to do it, but fate stepped in and it created some sort of stress tension between me and the algorithm, to where this thing literally was only letting me make, all of a sudden, like, it went from being very lucrative and making enough money per day to all of a sudden I was looking down the barrel of only making like $25 a day, which simply isn't enough. And so it was very discouraging going out there for like 8 hours a day, knowing it's only going to do this to me again and again and again. Well, so I call that fate stepping in, the universe stepping in and working its magic in my life to show me through a higher dimensional perception of what it's trying to get me to do, what it's trying to get me to understand, excuse me, so that I can use more free will to enact. The reason why is because it had sustained that patterning of algorithm for over a year. And it wasn't until just recently, the past couple days, in line with getting this job, with being able to step into the door with the position opening, me hearing about the position opening before it opened, all of a sudden talking to the right person at the right time, stepping in there and applying, getting coached by this person, this manager, and being invited into the group interview, and they just so happened to give me the position, the very position that would work out perfectly for me, which is the early morning shift. I am useless in the afternoon. You can probably tell it's late. It's in the afternoon right now, and I look a lot more spunky early in the morning, starting at like 3 a.m. It's kind of weird the way my mind functions. I'm ambidextrous, so both hemispheres are working in tandem to keep me awake, basically. Anyways, but so all this happens in synchronicity, and also I had received some generous donations in the days leading up to the interview. I was completely broke. And on the day of the interview, my battery in my truck completely dies, and I spend over 8 hours, because I didn't have the money, trying to charge it up the day before I get paid. So I had to hitch a ride to the interview, and I had to walk home in the 90-degree heat. And I almost suffered heat stroke. I suffered heat stress, and I could tell because I'm very in tune with my nervous system and my own homeostasis, so I can understand when something's different, and there was this weird, crazy, confused, warm feeling going on right here that was very distorted. And what cured it, which intuitively I figured it out, was to go out to the beach and ground myself for a day. So I did that yesterday. Anyways, so I was feeling weird from that walk home and all the stress, and the battery of my truck all of a sudden giving out. Anyways, the next day when I got paid, after having the interview and them telling me I had gotten the job, I was still stressed out because I didn't actually have physical concrete proof that I had the job. I only had their word. And I've been in this situation before. I was starting to feel like, well, the way my paranoia was starting to act up was, it was telling me, you've experienced this before. If you get this job, Ryan, this means the gate is open. The portal is genuinely open for opportunity of all kinds of value, including relationships, to come in. But it could also be a seventh dynamic, which is your illusions and opportunities, which could shift back into the valence before you got the opportunity, which becomes an illusion. All of a sudden, where you ever were for sure that something was concrete, it was never going to go, or for sure you had the opportunity, and all of a sudden it was taken away for seemingly no reason. Let me know down in the comments if you've ever experienced that. So the paranoia was kind of starting to bog up in the back of my mind. I thought it wasn't going to happen because I didn't get the concrete proof, even though everything else was telling me, and I had people telling me Well, you should think positive, right? You should think positive, Ryan. Yeah. And these are the people that don't know that I have a YouTube channel, or at least they don't watch my videos. But to go all the way at rock bottom and still have faith and be positive is a dynamic that nobody can teach you. It's something that only the universe can teach you. And it has to teach you through failure and hardship. You cannot be comforted by the universe and all the things around you and have help all along the way and tell somebody, oh, I don't understand why you go through hard times. I guess I'm just fortunate. No, that actually creates a sleeping valence where you cannot empathize with the plights of other people. And so that shapes a person when the universe steps in and forces you to bring out what's actually inside, and to ignore the enticement of the ego that points us in all kinds of strange directions that we later on in our ascension realize it is not the true us. So yeah. So I've been getting help. I've been getting correspondence, which is a big thing because I had lacked correspondence for seemingly years or months. My correspondence, if it had a gauge on it, that level, it was depleting on empty. And so I had been recognizing that the past few weeks that I am at 0 level correspondence, and then overnight correspondence amped up to 100. Not trying to jinx myself or anything, but the girl that would seem to refuse to talk to me, all of a sudden, literally overnight, she starts talking to me just out of nowhere. And now all of a sudden we have reason to talk to each other because now we're going to work with each other or we're going to work at the same company anyways. But not saying that that's going to go anywhere, but this is also something. It's part of correspondence. Not saying that this is my twin flame meant to be a partner in life. Oh yeah, I would love her to be, because I feel that way. I feel like I feel very drawn to her in a way that is very pure, and that it is in our face, me and her, that we just can't seem to get rid of each other. We just keep, it's right when you can't get rid of the other person, when you all of a sudden start telling yourself, you know what, I'm just going to stop texting this person. I'm just going to start ignoring this person. But the universe brings you together. And so at a time when it was her choice, if she didn't want to talk to me, I wouldn't bother her. I didn't talk to her. She would choose to text me and try to get to know me more. And out of nowhere, without her even knowing that I'm going to get this job, or that this portal is opening up, all of a sudden she chooses to start texting me and start getting more interested in me. All of a sudden, as if something had changed in her life. And as if she's starting to, think twice. Maybe being friends is a way to go. I'm just very drawn to this girl. I've been drawn to this girl for a couple years now. And this is the girl that I mentioned in the past video that I had a vision of, saw her as clear as day, exactly as she is in my life now, a year before I had ever even met her. So this was one of the first huge premonitions I had ever gotten in related to my own psychic intuition, or whatever however you'd like to categorize that. So the portal opening up around this time. I just had a birthday, by the way. Thank you. Happy birthday to me. Thank you. Yeah. I'm a Leo sun and a Virgo moon, and all kinds of other things in between. And I like to think that I embody the zodiac, maybe not in its totality, but I seek clarity on my more astrological side. And in the future, I'll study more, just like I've studied magic and and that's the other thing. That's the other update, was that I felt that at a certain we're under 20 minutes right now. I felt at a certain time, some weeks ago, maybe about a month ago, that I had really had my spiritual practice and my meditations, my magical practices, my rituals all dialed in, but that I wasn't focusing on basically getting a job. I mean, I would categorize it in a more energetic way. I wasn't focusing on those things that create opportunities in a grounded sense. So we could just say, yeah, I wasn't focused on getting a job, but there's other things involved too kind of flow into all the mix of the other things I mentioned about relationships, opportunities, abundance, finances, job, everything in between, correspondence, family, relationships. Anyways, so I decided to completely stop my routines. Okay, I realized that they were helping me, but they actually weren't helping me to get the job. Or they're helping me understand what it takes to get the job, but the actions were only working the internal stimulus of the dualities of a hemispheric equilibrium in trying in ascension, in trying to ascend in higher dimensional perception. But I wasn't focused in on putting the energy into the physicalities of getting the job. So the second I started doing that, all of a sudden different things of higher dimensional perception, different cues of subconscious information started standing out in my mind, which led me down those bread trail crumbs. One thing that was crucially interesting, I found was very interesting, that maybe you saw this happening recently, was all of a sudden the colors teal, or a bluish teal, which you can't see it, but a blue TRD, a blue Toyota truck just drove by right before I started. Anyways, so yeah. So bluish teal and a I want to say like a chromy, no, a silvery, metallic-y kind of green, or an earthy green. And so I would see these in the vehicle colors. Now the green is significant because the universe doesn't normally show me these colors. The universe will show me blue, the universe will show me red, and I know what you're thinking. Some of you are thinking, well, Ryan, there are cars all over the place with all kinds of colors. But it's the higher dimensional perception that points out in your visual acuity the relationship between the color in significance in the moment in time, and how it relates to the subconscious information being fed into your cognitive functions. That is what makes it pop, which I mentioned in, I think, the last video, or maybe the last few videos. That's when you know the universe is trying to tell you something, because there's colors and there are things in cars everywhere popping out, birds and all kinds of stuff to stimulate the visual senses or the auditory senses. But it's only when it is significant in those functions in the subconscious is when the universe will pop it out, and all of a sudden it'll become real bright. And so the color green, or at least in the way that I was seeing it, because I don't, keep in mind, I see green all the time, but in the way it was showing it to me was very, very special and very, very abrupt and out of nowhere. And it always does the same thing when it wants to show you that this is actually part of the subconscious information, is it'll do it in threes. It'll show it to you once, and then it'll show it to you again almost right away, and then it'll show it to you again after you've already realized that this is what it's trying to show you. And then you say, thank you, universe. And then it'll continue to show up every now and then to remind you, hey, this is still something in your acuity. This is still something that is relevant, and you're still trying to figure out and follow this path. Well, this happened to all of a sudden follow in alignment with finding out about the job, finding out about applying for the job, getting the interview, the internal struggle and stress of the past letdowns, and how they would relate to the present moment. And all the information being fed into my acuity, into my higher dimensional perception. The relationships and correspondence popping out of nowhere. It's something about the green just said something warming of the heart in relationship to correspondence with other people, which is something that has been extremely significant compared to the past weeks, months, and years that I've been experiencing. It's like my correspondence and that warm heart feeling of human to human relationship has almost completely vanished, but it vanished for a very special reason, so that I would understand exactly what it means in this moment, how to navigate the opportunities that were going to come up in my own dimensional perspective, or my own dynamics. in that seventh perception. And sometimes it requires, which I've entertained, and I wouldn't recommend this, but I can vouch for it, that sometimes the universe does want us to go down the road of feeling like we don't have faith, or feeling like that our road does not make any sense, or that we will not accomplish the goals we set out for. Sometimes the universe needs us to go down that road and say, you know what, there can't be a God, because God would not treat me this way. Sometimes that needs to happen. And I can personally vouch for that, because it is only when you start busting out through those dynamics, and when you see in your higher dimensional perception what the universe is trying to show you in the subconscious information that is only privy to us moment per moment, all of a sudden time starts to speed up in that information. And when we just rely on ourselves, rely on our faith, and rely and know that, you know what, the second that I oust God or faith or the universe working in synchronicity with my internal world, the second that I do that, it's going to perform a miracle. And that's what it's done for me. That's what it allowed me to see. And the thing is, what I am thankful for is it allowed me to see this before I went down that adventure of saying, no, God would there is no God. See, life is a play. No, there is no God, because God would not treat me this way. But there is something in the higher dimensional perception and in the faith dynamic, in your fourth through seventh dynamic, in your eighth dynamic, that tells you, watch what happens. You're going to say one thing and you will get your miracle, because you've been begging for miracles. But you needed to understand this one folly of the human experience, is that we need to work through the dualities of our exterior world and experiences to understand how we can reach a clarity and equilibrium in our inner journey, and they are both in relation, and that makes us one with God. All right. Let me know what you got from this video down in the comments. It has been intuitive. It has been spontaneous. I have a job now. I can get back to feeling like a regular human being, making an impact, however that may be, in my community. Let me know down in the comments if you resonate with anything I have said. Go scroll randomly through my videos and find what the universe wants you to see, wants you to learn, and wants you to relate with. Leave me a comment down below. Give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. And I will see you the next time I see you.